It's 58 days to election 2016. The Electoral Commission has pruned massively the number of persons who are running for president. Only 4 are going to be on the ballot. The others who have been removed and the ones who have been accepted are up here on Citi News Breaking with me, Umaru, Sanda, Amadu. So Bernard Avle is Director of News Programming here at Citi FM. He hosts the Citi Breakfast Show and he joins me. So Bernard, it must be very shocking for a number of people who have been watching the scene.
Absolutely unbelievable. We broke into our news program to report this. The EC sent us a statement. Our reporter was there. And the EC generally gave 5 possible criteria, in fact 6 possible criteria or reasons for disqualifying candidates, that if the nomination form is not properly signed by the candidate, the person could be disqualified. If the statutory declaration was not properly executed, the candidate could be disqualified. If the filing P was not presented or was presented in a wrong form, i.e. if it was not a bank draft, the candidate could be affected. Also, if less than 2 registered voters per district signed the nomination form, a candidate could be disqualified. And if the nomination forms were not properly signed or endorsed by the subscribing voters. And finally, if the candidate or the designated vice president nominee did not meet the legal requirement, for example, age. And for example, for Madam Donko, the issue, one of the key issues was that her running mate was born in 1998, so she's not 40 years old.
She's not even up to 18 years
yet.
Yes,
but there are a couple of key points. So if you look at the APC's Hassan Ayariga and the PNC, mind you, those 2 parties or those 2 candidates were in the same party earlier on. The reason for the disqualification of Hassan Ayariga were 2 reasons: that the candidate did not provide evidence of a statutory declaration as to his hometown or residence in the constituency as per the legal requirement.
That's one.
Yes, and the second one, which is more serious, was that the EC is saying that 2 subscribers to Dr. Ayariga's nominations subscribe for another presidential candidate. And this is in breach of Regulation 7.4 of CI 94.
And let me just briefly say, so when they say subscribers, every person who wants to run for president is supposed to have 2 persons per district endorsing their nomination form.
Exactly.
So this didn't happen, or even when it happened, the same persons also did it for other parties, which is Dr. Mahama of the PNC.
So what the EC did was to provide the names, the voter ID, and the polling station code of the voters that were found to have done for 2 candidates. So in the case of APC, a voter known as Abaku Isifu, on page 103 of the document they provided, voter ID number given, and polling station code J110202, and another voter called Abudu Ayuba on page 95, were found to have endorsed the forms for Edward Mahama of the PNC as well. Now, according to the EC, in addition to this, the signature of both voters are different on the 2 nomination forms. So the EC says this raises questions to the legitimacy of the signatures. And they say they will refer the matter of possible forgery of the signatures to the Ghana Police Service and Attorney General in line with sections of the Criminal Code. Because they're saying that this could be perjury, this could be making a false declaration for office or voting, this could be deceiving a public officer, or corruption, intimidation, and personification. So they're saying,
aside these 2 persons having to lead to the disqualification of Hassan Ayariga and Edward Mahama, they could also possibly face a judge.
Yes, and in the case of Edward Mahama, the 2 reasons for the disqualification, the first one mentioned that the 2 subscribers mentioned, Ayuba Abudu and Abaku Isifu, had endorsed for another candidate. And then the other one was that many of the subscribers did not properly sign the form, thumbprint, or signature marks. And he gives examples, EC gives examples of page 16, page 24, and page 28, that there wasn't a proper endorsement as per the requirement.
Let's just say that Dr. Edward Mahama has run as president 4 times in this country, ending in 2008. He fell in running for 2 times. Let's speak on the specific issue of Nana Konedo Ajimarol.
Let's deal with Dr. Nduom first.
Dr.
Nduom, who is the PPP, which is quite shocking for many people. And for that, I think you permit me to read what the EC said. It was quite short. The Commission is unable to accept Dr. Nduom's nomination because the number of subscribers to his forms did not meet the requirements of Regulation 7.2b of CI 94. The details are as follows. One subscriber, Richard Aseda, spelled Asida, so it was Aseda, A-S-E-D-A, but spelled A-S-I-D on the voters register, with voter ID number given, endorsed the forms in 2 different districts. And EC gives the exhibits on page 21 and page 39. The EC says the subscriber was found to be on the voters register in 1 district, thereby disqualifying his 2nd subscription and reducing the total number of subscribers to below the minimum required by the law.
Which is 432.
Exactly. The same subscriber, Richard Aseda, endorsed the form with different signatures. So these two offences, different signatures in both portions of the nomination form. And these raise questions as to the legitimacy of one or both of the signatures. The EC then says they will refer the matter of a possible forgery of signature to the Ghana Police Service and Attorney General for investigation and prosecution with the following sections of the Criminal Act, Act 29 of 1960.
Okay.
But the Nana Kunedu question you asked, this is on paragraph 9, and on the National Democratic Party, the EC says the Commission is unable to accept Mrs. Ajima Rawlings' nomination because the number of subscribers to her forms did not meet the requirements of Section 72B of CR 94. And they give an example. One subscriber on page 89 of a nomination form is not a validly registered voter and illegally registered twice, and so is on the exclusion list of multiple voters. This person's name is Salifu Abdullahi from the Nanumba South District. Voter ID number is given, and there are two voter ID numbers. So 661-700-4814, which registered on 28th of March 2012, and then voter ID number 2126-9022, date 4th August 2014.
Okay.
So they're saying that this one voter was not the. So it looks like there's one voter's error.
Okay.
And since that person is supposed to endorse the form, once that voter is not validly registered, it means that they don't have the minimum number of signatures required. So the Electoral Commission states that prior to the close of nominations on 29th and 30th September, candidates whose nomination forms had obvious errors and who submitted early enough were called by the office of the Commission and given the chance to correct obvious errors of omission on their nomination forms, right? According to the EC, the law permits such corrections only within the nomination period, hence the earlier call on candidates to submit as early as possible. They go on to say that following the receipt of nomination forms last week and the payment of filing fees earlier today, Monday the 10th, the EC is now in a position to announce candidates whose nominations have been accepted. So what they've tried to do is first to ground themselves within some legal framework, to also give the various laws and the qualification criteria, and to also point out that they did give some of the parties the chance to make corrections before announcing the list. They ended by simply reiterating the 4 candidates whose presidential nominations had gone through, being JOY, President Mahama, Nana Akufo-Addo, and Ivor Kobna Green. So they did not say anything about people preparing to go to court, but that goes without saying.
Okay.
If you look at the character of the EC's presentation, it was a very legal presentation. There was no single disqualification without laws being quoted and specific offences being mentioned.
Okay.
So you can tell that the Electoral Commission is prepared to go on a legal route by implication. Okay. This is very big and a serious story because, as you said, in 2012, we had 8 candidates on the nomination. This year, we had more political parties and individuals intending to stand. 17.
Yes.
In fact, before that, there were more.
22.
Yes. So to have this whittled down to only 4, it tells you that this is a... And don't forget, the EC earlier in the year had announced what it called the reforms, both internal and external reforms. It had beefed up its legal side, beefed up its processes, and EC said they were going to be more professional to deliver world-class elections. So while this may be shocking to some, it shouldn't be surprising because the EC has stated that it intends to do things better to prevent the kinds of post-electoral litigation we had after the 2012 election. So I'm not surprised by the way this has turned out because the chairman of the commission is a lawyer herself. Tadi Osoro is the Electoral Commission's lawyer. Yeah. They've had a new TV program they do on Wednesdays. It tells you that the EC realizes that this election has higher stakes and therefore they must be more rigorous.
They're ready for it.
We've interviewed a couple of the political parties and it's very clear we are going to have a lot of legal issues. As we speak, the PPP is already in court with the EC. Yeah. They have asked for an injunction on the process of collecting filing fees, which injunction had been dismissed, but it's a substantive issue to be heard in a few days' time. So you have a lot of legal issues running concurrently. So the next 48 hours are going to be very, very interesting for us. You said we have less than 60 days to the election. So the microscope will be placed squarely on our courts, the Electoral Commission's legal side, and we don't know if the 13 individuals who've been disqualified would come with a class action. But as of the time we recorded this video, there are a couple of them who've spoken to Citi News who've said they intend to go the legal route. So it's going to be a very interesting few days.
Thank you very much, Bernard Avle, Director of News Programming here at Citi FM, host of the Citi Breakfast Show. So the breaking story, Citi News Breaking, is that only 4 persons have been accepted to run for president in the Republic of Ghana for election 2016 unless otherwise provided by the court. Jacob Ose Yebua, an independent candidate. Ivor Kobina Greenstreet, flag bearer of the Convention People's Party. Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo, flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party. John Dramani Mahama, flag bearer and president of the Republic. My name is Umaru Sanda Amadu. You can follow GH Elections on social media as a hashtag. You can go to ghelections.com for all election-related stories, as well as citifmonline.com, and stay with Citi TV for more.